back in the 400 Park Pro Winch, and today I've got to try and widen this slope out a bit, which hopefully won't be too hard. It's going to take a while, but the challenging part is this machine hasn't actually got a design uploaded in it yet, so I don't have the GPS information of how thick the snow is anywhere. I have a vague idea of how thick it was from when we put it there. Alarm's going off to tell me to wake up. Yeah, so I don't have a real-time indication of how deep the snow is. All I have is my memory, basically. I've just come down the outside to give myself a rough line to go to. Not a very straight line, Jesus. So I've got to try and drag some snow out there to fill that in. Probably going to pack it down a little bit first. And then, yeah, find some snow to drag into there. I do think it's going to take a while because it is actually a fairly large area I need to fill up. And I know the snow out that side is pretty thin. It's almost worth taking the tiller off, but I don't think I will. I may hook up the winch at some point. The slope does have a winch anchor. I've been grooming it without the winch because we had, let's say, an incident with one of the other guys taking this out for a test, and well, long story short, the machine's got a shorter cable now because I don't know if I did this in a previous video or not, but let's just quickly show you. So here's our winch boom, right? And this has a park frame because it's a Park Pro, and the park frame will quite happily touch the end of the boom, which means obviously right now I'm a good 400 mils above the pulleys and the end of the winch boom, so your cable goes lower than the blade. So if you're not paying attention, or you're just being plain complacent, you can catch the cable, or even worse, catch the boom on the blade, which is why I've got it way out there. Also got it there because if you have it, if you have it there, I usually have my winch boom about there so that I can see it, but it's still out of the way of the blade. On this machine it's not, and it also interrupts the working light that's on the mirror there, so it's got to be a bit further out, which shouldn't be a problem because it's still within the track footprint, like the Grouser footprint of the machine. So technically, as long as I'm not going under anything overhanging like a tree or something, I shouldn't really hit the boom on anything. Just means you've got to be a bit more careful. You can hit T's and that sort of thing, or T-boxes, or the whole lift further down. So yeah, so that's basically, it looks like the cable's had an argument with the blade. It's got these side cutters on the blade too. You can probably see better on that side. So there's a straight edge there for cutting park features and, well, cutting jumps and squaring things up. And they're pretty sharp compared to a winch cable. So you can imagine what's happened. Now supposedly this is still within its run-in period. No, wrong button. Where are we at? Yeah, it's done 54 hours. I've probably done 25 of those, I think, thereabouts. But yeah, it's for the first 100 hours, it's basically its run-in period. Not supposed to, this is what the mechanics told me anyway, I'm not 100% sure. I should read the manual. I mean, I've read the manual. Who reads the manual? No, I do need to read the manual actually, because there's some functions on this I don't know yet. Like there's these arrows, no idea what that means. There's also, yeah, a gauge there for something, there's numbers, and then there's an empty box there, which I assume are to feed me information on something, I just don't know what. What I have figured out is the park forks, so there's two buttons back there, and That's how I open my park forks. That's just kind of neat, because it used to be a button on here. I don't know what it is in the Park Pro, the previous Park Pro. I never drove one. But that's quite good that you don't have to mess around with buttons off to the side. What else? It looks like there's some park functions and things you can change with the tiller and whatnot in there as well. There's a Park Pro button if you like, because that is Pro. So there's things there that I can change, but I have no idea what half of them are. I have no idea what any of them are, to be honest. So I've got to figure those out, because that's a rock. There are park functions that will be necessary to be used, because you don't have them on the joystick in the same place the old 400 Parks had them, or the 400 Park Pro. It's the same joystick as what's in the 600 level reds, like what I used to drive in the Talon. This is quite thin. Yeah, because one of the main things too, the blade on a park machine has a longer frame, so the blade's got more range basically. But the tiller is also, the sting is longer, which means you can lift the tiller higher. Which means if you lift the tiller too high in the wrong position and you have the winch hooked up, you can spin around, and most likely I think you can hit the tiller with the boom, which you don't want to do. And I know there's probably settings in there that stop it from doing that. It sort of flashes up when you try and start the winch. So there is definitely a way to limit where it goes, but I don't know how to do that yet. And at the moment I don't think it actually goes high enough to hit it. Like my up position, basically you can lift the tiller up with one press of the tiller lift button, and you can hold it to lift it up another stage. And yeah, so I call that up, because it's up and it's up again. And looking at it right now, I'm fairly certain the amount of time I've spent in the previous 600s and 400s with a winch, that should not be high enough to hit the winch boom. So it should be okay as it is right now. But what you generally have on a park machine is the ability to turn the tiller out further so that you can till like a park feature, like a landing or a takeoff. And yeah, maybe there's a way to do it automatically. You used to have to hold a button on the joystick and then move the joystick to roll it out, and then sort of roll the cutback out of the tiller as you work your way down, so you don't just barrel it into the ground when you get to the bottom of the feature. And I'm sure there's park guys just sitting there screaming at the TV screen or computer screen right now, telling me that I'm explaining that very poorly, but of course I am. So this is where it narrows up again. I had probably for the last few nights could have been dragging snow across to that point, but they had about 50 bamboo markers on the edge there, all frozen into the ground, so I couldn't dig them out, and it would have taken me a couple of hours just to pull them out of the ground anyway, so I haven't done that. What I'll do now is go up to the top, spin around, come back down, and I might just start winging a windrow across. I know it's way thinner on this side than that side because the snow cannons are over that side, all the tower guns are over that side, so that's where the snow whales are, and we didn't really have enough time to blow them all the way across before opening. So there's like 1.5 meters of snow on that side and probably 0.5 meter on this side, if that. Oh, I won't even need to go to the top. Look at that. Turn around here. I think I sidetracked myself. So I want to hook the winch up because the machine's got its running period, and I believe, from what the mechanic has told me, because I haven't read the manual myself, might not even say it in the manual, maybe the sales rep told him this anyway, but you were supposed to run the winch for the first 100 hours on the winch, so the winch has its own hour timer as well, so you know how many hours the winch has done itself. So you're supposed to do the first 100 hours on the winch basically below 1 ton of pull, and because this little project shouldn't really require much more than that, like I'd probably just need minimum tension to do what I need to do in the steeper section, so it's probably a good sort of job to start running the winch in a bit. The downside is, so basically the Pistenbully sales guys or service guys have got to come out and do its first service. They change the run-in oils for normal oil and all the rest of it, check everything's bedded in properly, whatever else they do. So they're going to have to come and do that. They're coming in the next, somewhere between Christmas and January, I guess. Not sure when. So basically once it gets up to maybe 90 hours, we're going to park the thing up. Probably park it up at like 70 hours because we don't want to go over that run-in period. I don't think it will be a problem, but I don't know how strict they are on their warranties, but that's the reason. You got to make sure that they service it and you follow the proper warranty, the proper run-in procedures and whatnot for the warranty. So I'm not going to argue. We have other cats. This one's just the only winch with the tiller on. The 600's got the tiller off it now. They've been using it for pushing on the other side. Looks like I missed out on a lot of fun pushing over there actually, but such is life. I've just been over here grooming most nights. I'm working the graveyard on my own, so I come in here at 10 o'clock and yeah, start grooming this slope, and then with my leftover time I've just been bouncing around, pushing whatever needs pushing and trying to get things ready to till out for opening. I think we'll probably have most of the slopes open this weekend. If I say most, probably like 60 or 70% of them will be open, I think. But it's meant to get warm. The bloody warm weather's followed me from Australia. It's -2 now. Last night when I started it was -5. And it is meant to warm up over the weekend again, to probably get into like +3 degrees. And then next week doesn't look great. And maybe the weekend, maybe it'll cool down and snow again, but that's a bit too far away at this point to call it. Have a lot of passes to catch up on. Basically all this area is not bare minimum, but it's less than a metre, so I don't really want to touch that area if I can help it. But it also happens to be the widest part, so I might need to touch it. But I can just sort of see from the way the snow's sitting there that it's relatively thick. I'm sorry if I'm talking too much. I feel like I've been editing the videos lately, and I watch every minute of them to try and edit out any fluff or whatever, bleep swear words. But I've also noticed that I'm pretty quiet. There's probably some people might like that. Some people might want me to shut the up. But others might be looking for information. So I'm trying to hit the happy medium, actually explaining what I'm doing rather than just jumping in a cat, setting up a camera and pretending it's not there. I've got a microphone, I might as well talk into it. It's a Snowcat operating podcast. I think maybe in springtime when I get a bit more time and daylight and whatnot, maybe I'll try and do like another review video of this machine, because the 600 review video is pretty popular. One of the most popular videos I've made. So obviously people want to know about these machines. I didn't get as much hate for the Lightwolf one as I was expecting. Maybe I'll even spend enough time in the Bison to give that a review, we'll see. I can already tell you some pros and cons about this machine so far, from what I've found in my few days with it. hell, let's start with the cons, because everybody loves a bit of negativity in their lives. It's no secret that I'm a bit of a Pistenbully fanboy. I just really like the machines. They just generally do what I want them to do. Very operator friendly, comfortable, those sorts of things. So this one, let's start at the basics. For the general daily checks, so checking your oil and water, oils and water, radiator fluid, coolant, whatever you want to call it. It's not water anymore, is it? Let's say coolant. So checking the oils and the coolant. The 600, really, really easy. Like you can do it all literally from walking around the machine on the ground. You don't actually have to get on the machine other than to check the winch. This machine, I don't know why. I want to talk to a Pistenbully designer and slap him around the face a bit. Just, you know, in the European way, the friendly but firm European way. And ask why the hell they put the coolant bottle, the reservoir, in the center of the cat with the sight glass facing towards the center of the cat. Because if you know anything about snowcats, when you put a winch on them, the center of the cat is very awkward to get to. Basically, you can't see the sight glass on the coolant bottle at all. Like I can see it from here where the filler is, but the sight glass points back this way. And I'm guessing because for the sake of making it a very exchangeable part, so it's the same part as what's in a 600 and other 400s and whatnot. The sight glass is on the left-hand side of the reservoir, so it has to face that way. But facing that way means that it faces the winch house, basically, so you can't see it at all. So it's going to be really hard to check the coolant level. So that's one gripe. Gripe number two, the seat. The seat in general is very comfortable. Again, Pistenbully seats are generally very comfortable. So the seat itself is great. The seat position, however, I can't get it back far enough. If you can see my leg right now, my knee is bent. That's not a big problem, you might think. But my other knee is 90 degrees bent, so that I can use the throttle pedal. Now over time that's not very comfortable because your foot's usually bent back like that, like back on itself. So if you can get the seat back far enough, I'm a tall guy, I'm about 6'3". I need to have the seat back a bit further so that I can, you know, push the throttle down rather than have my foot bent back like that. So I haven't done any massive shifts in this yet. Longest is probably 10 hours and that's been okay. But if you're cranking a 15-hour shift with your foot bent back like that, might start to get a bit of cramp. The old calf muscle might get a bit upset with you. And I don't know why. There's still like 100 mils gap behind the seat, which would make a lot of difference, but I can't move the seat back that far, so I don't know what the story is there. To me, the cabin looks the same size as the 600, but maybe it's not. So it's annoying. It's definitely annoying when the machines are generally being pretty damn comfortable otherwise. The visibility to the blade. So right now it's pretty good with the wing open on this side. I can see it out the passenger window just fine. And these blades are quite wide. The Park Pro blade looks like it might be wider than standard, and the wings are quite long. Problem is, when I've got the blade winging the other direction, the screen gets in the way. Now you can move it, I've just adjusted it and you can see it a bit better, but it does kind of hide behind that B pillar on the other side there as well, which is not great. And I mean, I think it's something they should change from factory, in my opinion. But the wipers. So in Salin, they had a smart idea where they basically just turned the direction that the wipers start from. So they started on this side, so you had the one in the center and then one on this side, and they go that way and then back. and you sort of get used to seeing it there because you don't really look there very often. But the problem with the one over there, and it's on every Pistenbully from factory, so it's like I say, I don't know why they have it this way, but it's just blocking the mirror, so it's kind of cutting off my vision into the mirror on the side there. Not completely, like I can lean and see it fine, but you don't want to have to lean, do you? You know, we're machine operators, we're lazy. But joking aside, when you want to quickly glance at the mirror, you sort of have to move your body or move your head a bit more to see what you want to see, which you shouldn't really have to do, but it's a small gripe. The camera's great. Funnily enough, I had the Bison X. I needed to move a tiller on it, and I've never actually hooked one up on the Bison X before. That was a bit of a shit show. It took me a while. With the centre seat, you basically have to look directly behind you. My neck and back were getting sore trying to line the damn thing up, and yeah, it was just awkward. I found it bloody awkward. Couldn't use the mirrors because you can't see the centre of the tiller with the mirrors. It was just not a good time. And then literally the first thing I did with this cat was go and pick up the tiller and put it on so I could come and groom over here. And it took me, I think, one try. Pretty sure it was just one try. Using the camera, because it's a winch so you can't see the tiller behind you, using the camera to line up the stinger in the middle and pick it up, I could do it in one try. So the camera is really good. And the tiller is very easy to put on, so that's a plus. Power-wise, I've been trying not to thrash it, basically, because it's in the run-in period. But it seems alright. It does feel quite heavy, I'll be honest. Coming from the 400 winches at Mount Buller, which are the old-style ones with a yoke, one of the other operators did make the comment on the new 400 winch they've got there. Same thing, he said it was quite heavy, to the point where in the springtime he actually took the 400 winch back, the new one, to swap for one of our older ones, because it just made that much difference in the spring conditions. And it does, like that extra weight makes a huge difference when you've got barely any snow and the snow's wet and soft and it's plus degrees. You don't want the cat to be too heavy. It does feel a bit heavy. I've probably gone over the RPMs for the run-in. It doesn't say the exact number. I think you're supposed to be under 1400 RPM, the mechanic was telling me today. And I've probably exceeded that because, yeah, it happens, I guess. Right now, I'm probably just sitting on 1400. So I could normally give it more throttle and just go hard, but I'm not going to do that. Taking it easy. She's a new cat. She needs to ease into her life, you know. So I might just hook up the winch, just because obviously I can do it without the winch. The climbing's actually very good right now, but it's just literally for the sake of running in the winch. I want to get the hours on it because when the season properly kicks off, when we've got everything open and we need to, you know, pound out the slopes, we're going to need the winch to be running. So I may as well do it now, bite the bullet, start getting it running. It's going to be easier on the motor as well. So I'm going to do that now. Pushing right now is pretty good. The blade has taken a bit to get used to because I haven't used a Park blade for a while, and I've never actually used a Park blade on a winch before. So that's going to be the other interesting thing, is making sure I don't happened to it. The last guy did, and hit the winch boom or the cable with the blade. Down. Because it's the first time using the winch, I want to be able to see what's going on in the winch house behind me, see if it's unreeling correctly and reeling back in correctly and all that sort of thing. Supposedly they tested it today, but I want to see for myself. I'm going to have to set up my sign and stuff too, so catch you later. Alright. Jumped out to hook up the winch, and I'm assuming it's my boss. There's a drone flying around. Yeah, so I assume it's the boss. He's the only other person I know that's got a drone up here. Other than that, it's probably just a member of the public. And he did say from our apartment at the bottom of the hill, he can fly a drone up to here, so I'm assuming it's him. It's gonna. Oh, it is. So it's still giving me a bad wrap alarm, which it does look like it's an average wrap, to be fair. Just text him. I don't know if he actually tested it today or not. Let's see what it does. In the 600, generally, if you had a bad wrap, you'd have to run the cable out past the point where it was wrapping on the drum badly, and then come back up and reel it back in, and then generally the reeling system with the arm and everything will reel it back on properly. I'm hoping that's going to be the case here. Otherwise, this could be a bit of a screw up. Because of the incident with the cable snapping, like it was a heroic snap. It went through the boom and through, unreeled basically to the drum. So because of that, they've reeled it back on, but I don't know if they reeled it on properly or if they calibrated it properly or not. I'm just going to see how it goes. I really don't want to have to wrap this cable around the blade because it's a brand new cable. But that wrap does look like shit. Problem is, my boss is probably on his phone while he's using his oh no, he's looked at it. So he's probably on his phone while he's using his drone. It depends if he's got a controller or not. It does look like crap. I'm going to try and record it. I've got my other phone, camera actually. Thing is, as long as it's not bird nesting, it shouldn't be a problem, really. Because the tension doesn't pull off the actual drum, it pulls off the capstans and pulleys and shit that go after the drum. Bloody doing three things at once. Sorry, I'm not aiming, so hopefully that shows you how bad the wrap is. Basically it should just be straight. The line should be more or less straight. But at the moment it's got a bit of a squiggle in it every time it's wrapped on, so that's a poor wrap. And you don't want a poor wrap. Problem is, if it doesn't line up correctly, it can bird's nest, it can stack on itself. You get like a wrap and then a wrap over the top of itself rather than a wrap and then a wrap next to it, because it's sort of doing this. So that's where it becomes a problem. But it does look like crap. And this is why it's important when you drive a winch, if you're new winch kit operator, that's why it's important to watch that window behind you. It is there for a reason. There's a reason you've got a window that looks at the winch cable and why there's a light on it. And it's so that you can pay attention to how that cable is wrapping and what it's doing. Whether it's reeling in and out nicely. Because you don't want it to bird's nest. That's when you have to basically turn the winch off and yeah, coil it around the blade, drive back to the workshop, and you're down a cat. It could just be a question of, I think possibly the arm's not calibrated correctly. It gets worse the further you go. But we'll see how it coils back on when I go back up. Very, very worst case, I might be getting the 600, or I might just not winch. Depends if I can actually get the cable back on the drum or not. That's actually silly. Why is that not there? That's very silly. Can I change that? Oh, here we go. There we go. I don't know why that wasn't there in the first place. Just looking at the screen, there was no indicator of how long the cable was. Got 300 meters left, supposedly. As long as they've actually recalibrated the length. I think it measures it as it goes on, but I don't know. I've never... Oh, it gets worse. I've never actually calibrated a winch before. I've seen a guy calibrating the arm for reeling back on, and just sort of helped him out with that, but I don't understand it. And yeah, generally when they've been reeling a new cable on or whatever, I've been asleep. It's mechanics usually take care of that. Yeah, the bottom, that last wrap looks like shit. It's 190 meters left, and I mean I might be running it damn near the whole way out. That looks terrible. I wonder if this can see it. There you go, so have a look at that. Breaking the fourth wall, you're not supposed to be able to move around by yourself. There you go. That's what I'm looking at. You can just see, even if it's not focusing correctly, the way there's sort of a wobble and the way it's all lined up. That's a bad wrap. It should not look like that. It should not have the little wave in the middle. It should be smooth and straight. God, I might actually run out of slope. I thought this slope was about 1100 meters or something, but maybe it's... Yeah, we're getting right down to the wire here. Yeah. So that's a warning indicator, that darker colour. And that's wrapped on terribly as well. Jesus, that's the worst actually. So just to be clear, this is not something that Pistenbully's done wrong. It's the way that we've run that cable back on. That's terrible. So I'm going to have to creep that back very slowly, so I can actually see the end of the cable. So that means I'm down to the last wrap basically. Amazing that that's 80 meters apparently, but there you go. I have run one out to about 7 meters, and that was pretty nerve-wracking. Go back on that, because I really need to concentrate on what I'm doing here. It's like I'm putting a tiller on a bison, my neck hurts. Right, a little bit further. Oh, I'm not all the way down, that's alright. Excuse me, I'm not staring at you, I'm staring behind you. Oh, sorry, excuse me. The damn flash is on. That cannot be 40 metres. .39 metres and I can see the drum. I don't think that's quite right. It might be shorter than it's saying. That's as far as I really want to go with it. Really exciting viewing. It's going to beep at me the whole way up, which is the worst part. Alright, that didn't work. The winch wrap is not good still. I was really hoping to be able to winch tonight. I was planning to go back and get the 600 winch, but they've just taken that into the workshop today to, I think, repair the reversing camera. So that's in bits, so I can't use that either. So we've got no winch cat tonight, which is a worry. Luckily the climbing's alright. I don't need the winch, but it's helpful for what I'm doing here, and it would be good to be able to run the winch in doing something gentle. I say gentle, I am trying to get full blades and pushing it uphill, but not very steep, and I mean, minimum pull was enough. It was pulling really good, but I can't stand the bad wrap alarm going off all day, and it's probably not good for the cable, because when it's reeling itself against what the arm's trying to reel it in, against how the arm's trying to reel it in, then it's probably putting a bit of pressure on the cable and the reeling arm and all the rest of it. So better not to push it too far. So I've done the steeper part, and I'm just going to have to freak out the rest, which is going to get harder and harder every time I run over everything, because it's, at the moment, it's quite sort of solid. It's minus 0.7. So the ground is frozen. It's been pretty solid all day, but as you can sort of see, it's quite chunky, and the more I run over it, the more sugary it's going to get, which means on the steeper sections it's going to be harder to climb, and then you start digging holes and making things messy, and yeah, not fun. So I'll persevere with it as long as I can. I don't know if I'm going to be able to achieve what I wanted to achieve tonight, which is widening the slope all the way out. But there's not much I can do about it, so we'll do what we can do. There are ways of doing this without the winch, but it would require pushing downhill first and then cross pushing it out, basically. And that's very time consuming, because you're basically pushing it 2 or 3 times as opposed to once or twice. What I've also learned, well, not really learned, just reinforced in my brain, because this is a brand new cat, so you'd expect everything should be 100% with it. But again, I haven't worked on reeling a cable in on the winch before, so like feeding it onto the drum. So I don't know how it is calibrated. I assumed it was on. I don't know how I assumed it was. I really thought about it too deeply, but usually you expect that it is telling you more or less what is on the drum. So I had it reeled out to telling me on the screen that there was 40 meters left, but on the drum I could see there was maybe half the drum left, which is probably 10 meters at best. When you sit there and think about the diameter of the drum and how many wraps you've got on it, I would assume it was about 10 meters. So if I was just watching the meter gauge and not the window behind me, I would assume that I had plenty more length, and I definitely did not. So it pays to, like I said at the very top when I started reeling it out, I wanted to reverse down first so that I can see what the cable's doing, so that I'm confident that everything's reading the way it should be. Because it wasn't in this occasion. And if you're driving down forward, you can't see how much cable you've got on your drum, or if you can just see your drum. And I'm pretty sure with these, when you reel them all the way out, they reel all the way out, and then the end of the cable will come out and you'll be staring at your cable in an empty drum. Cable, wire, rope, whatever you want to call it. I'm sure there's a proper technical name. I always hear wire. I don't know. What do you guys call it? And how do you put the hook on? That's something that's some people I've met recently do differently. I've been always taught to have the hook facing out, basically, so it's facing away from the cat. Yeah, but apparently you can hang it facing towards the cat too, but just, I don't know. It's like the same for rigging. Usually you put the clasp of the hook away from the direction you're pulling the cable, basically, so that it can't pull itself off. And I'm guessing if they've done it forever here, then maybe they've never pulled one off, I don't know, but yeah. Which way do you put your winch cable hook onto the end of the boom? Do you put it facing the cat or away from the cat? Right, let's see how this thing pushes without being hooked up.